record. Here to the Book of Faces.
We're live.
We are live.
Awesome. We're live. Welcome to another edition of the Industry Insider, your promotional products podcast where you can get all the nerdy news you need to know about. I'm one of your hosts, Jeff Franklin, National Accounts Manager at Headwear USA. I'm joined today by three other lovely guests. But before we get into those folks, I do have a little bit of information to share with you guys. Our podcast is brought to you today by Tervis line. Tervis has been around since 1946, starting with their classic line. Sleek styles makes this perfect for an active and on-the-go lifestyle. Tervis is the original double-walled insulated drinkware that keeps drinks cold and reduces condensation, backed by a made-for-life guarantee. Tervis is the original customizable double-walled insulated drinkware that keeps drinks hot. Cold drinks cold. Available in several sizes, including a sippy cup, wine glasses, both stemmed and stemless, 10-ounce wavy, 16-ounce mug, 16-ounce and 24-ounce tumblers, and 24-ounce water bottles. They're made from Triton plastic, made in America, lifetime warranty, dishwasher safe, microwave safe, and BPA free. Check them out at tervispromos.com for more information. Now, I'm joined today by three lovely folks. Meg Gerber, you heard her chime in, so we'll go to her. Meg Gerber from SNS Activewear, say hello.
Hey, down in South Carolina, sunny South Carolina.
Yeah, some folks actually take vacations. Is that unreal or what?
I just had to get away, man.
I'm with you.
Needed some time away.
Stephen McFadden, Perfect Promotions and More. How are you doing?
In sunny North Carolina, just north of Meg right now.
I guess everybody's in the Carolinas today, huh? Rich Patterson, how are you doing?
Hey, everybody. Good to be here. I'm on the other coast, the left coast.
The West Coast.
Rainy Vancouver, BC, Canada today.
Oh, one of our northern friends, huh?
You bet. That's why I got the Bob and Doug, a tribute to our wonderful astronauts and a tribute to Canadians' finest entertainers, Bob and Doug McKenzie, behind me.
Very nice. So I guess that must mean that we're talking a little bit about the Northern Brethren and their perspective on the current situation that's happening right now in our world. Yeah?
I hope so.
It's
A? Right. Meg, thank you for correcting me. You are so correct, and I apologize. A?
Get it right.
All right. So, Stephen, I'm going to kick it to you just to maybe start things off and maybe ask a few questions of Rich. But, well, actually, let me start with Rich and just have you give us a brief introduction of yourself.
Sure.
And sort of your background in the industry and just maybe 2 to 3 minutes. And then, Stephen, if you want to maybe ask the first question or two, we can go on from there.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be here this morning. I appreciate it. You guys asking me. And my name is Rich Patterson. My small distributorship ASI member is called Patterson Brands, and we are 5 people here in Vancouver, BC, Canada. We have clients mostly in the Pacific Northwest, but really all across North America. And we do what most distributors do, but we seem to concentrate on sort of high-end design, high-end apparel, branded apparel, Hollywood North productions, event management, big-time conferences, events, and that kind of stuff, which I'll get into later, why that's a terrible client group to have right now. But that seems to be, fortunately and unfortunately, where we found ourselves in the last 15 years. And I have been in this industry for almost over 20 years. I was a one brand guy for a long time. I got introduced to this when I worked for a company called Roots Canada. If anybody's familiar with Roots, it's a major Canadian powerhouse brand. And I did a bunch of roles inside of Roots. And then I saw this side of the business at Roots where they were selling direct to end users. Corporate wholesale, we called it at that time. And I started selling just oodles and buckets of Roots stuff, sweatshirts and beret caps and everything in the mid and late 90s that was popular at Roots, we were selling. And that's how I got introduced to it. And I fell in love with the creative side of this business and dealing with customers. I had a great customer group, and eventually enough customers said, Rich, we like buying Roots from you, and that's all good. We'd still like to do that, but can you get us like a StormTech jacket, or can you get us these great mugs or pens or whatever? And eventually I had to say to myself, yes, of course, why wouldn't I? So that's how it started. 1999, 21 years ago.
Very
Wow.
nice.
A quick question. What was, do you
Yeah.
remember the first promotional product that you ever sold?
Ooh.
I'm sure it was a roots thing, just because that was the waters I swam in at that time. And I'm sure it was a sweatshirt. I think it was
Okay.
like 500.
Oh, that's a good order.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I think it was leather jackets. I think it was 500 leather jackets for an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie called The Sixth Day. Does that sound right? Does
Oh
anybody
yeah.
remember it?
Yeah.
Right?
That's an even better order. 500
Yeah.
leather jackets.
Yeah.
I'd take that.
Yeah. That was
Take
pretty
that
cool.
too.
It led to a great story. I don't want to, but it led to a great story where unusually I got actually invited to the premiere of the movie, and I went there. And my wife said, "I'll go get seats," and she goes to get seats, and I go get the popcorn. And when I'm coming down the thing I got the popcorn and all the drinks, I'm like, "Geez, there's some big dude talking to my wife. Looks like he's hitting on her." And then the guy leaves, and I get up there and I say, "Shannon," she goes, "That was Arnold. He was totally hitting on me." That was great. Awesome story, one for the ages, and I missed it.
Wow.
That's awesome. That's cool.
She sent you to
not
go get
awesome,
popcorn on
but
purpose.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, "I want to talk to him. You go get the pop." But
Yeah.
that was the start of it. And it's been a great ride. And this has been a very tricky situation, which I know we'll talk about today. And I know myself and my colleagues up here in Canada, we've not been immune to it. It's very, very concerning. And, we're trying to do our best. So, yeah.
Well, I think that gets us into, the heart of the conversation we wanted to have. We've had a lot of discussions about COVID over the past few weeks, and all of it really, most of our conversations related to how it affected us in the United States. And I think, when we, I've been a part of other groups with other business owners, and they're in Canada, and I'll say something and they look at me like I'm crazy. They're like, "You're open in this area, or what are you doing for subsidies, and how does this work?" And so I just realized there's a huge market in Canada, and it's completely different. And so I just thought you'd be a good person to share with us, what's going on up there. Obviously, we only know so much, and everyone's focused in their territories. But I think it's appropriate for us to acknowledge the differences and some of the challenges people have, both selling north and south of the border. So
Sure. No, I appreciate it. And I think we should start off by acknowledging, I think there's actually a lot more similarities than there are differences on both sides of the borders. And, it's just different names and terminology, but up here we have provinces and territories, not states. And it really is different depending on what part of the country. And some parts of the country, Canada, have been really hard hit. And their regional, local, and provincial, like our state governments, have reacted differently. And we've had pure lockdowns. And I know those lockdowns have affected some of my supplier friends as well as some of my distributor friends. And then we've had some suppliers, just like in the US, who either immediately were deemed essential services because they produce some sort of fabric mask or something. They were a PPE producer, or they almost immediately pivoted to become a PPE producer, and then they were able to stay in business. And a great example of this is Kathy Chang at Redwood Classics. If you know Kathy, she's a fantastic person. Her father started Wings on Garments, and I've known that family for almost 30 years now. And she's been making masks this whole time and pivoted right away. So she stayed open. Some of our other suppliers in Ontario, that's the province of Ontario, they had to close right away, and they've been just reopened in the last 7 or 10 days.
Wow.
So it's been quite striking.
Yeah.
So now, are you guys
in New Jersey?
Go ahead, Mike. Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, that's fine.
No, I was going to say that when I was up in New Jersey, I mean, the difference between New Jersey right now and South Carolina is literally night and day. I walked in somewhere to pick up my dinner the other day, and I was waiting in line, and nobody had masks on. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I can't go in there. I can't go in there. But just because we're just so surrounded by the environment, and the environment is drastically different in New Jersey right now and North Carolina. So I'm wondering, I don't even think that they're even open yet. Like, obviously the essential personnel, but no dining, indoor dining. I don't even know if they're doing outdoor dining yet, but down here it's like, yeah, bring me another beer. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we've definitely seen that up here too. And I think up in BC, now that's the province I'm in, we're bordered right with Washington State. So Seattle, Washington is about a 3-hour drive away. And I think initially our political leaders and our bureaucratic leaders got quite scared to say it simply, because Washington State had quite an initial outburst of
Mhm.
cases. So we had
Yeah.
a pretty severe it was voluntary, but pretty much voluntary lockdown here, where businesses were closed, restaurants were closed, bars were closed. And in my small business, I chose to encourage everybody to work from home. I mean, there was 5 of us, but we're down to 2.5 now. And I was the only one that was coming into the office daily. And I've continued to do that just sort of because I want to be here. I think the energy is necessary. If I'm by myself, it's completely safe. And there is still a little bit of business going on, which we can talk about later. There's a few good news things happening, but for the most part, it's slow,
good.
very slow. Yeah.
Good.
So one of the differences I've heard about, and maybe you can kind of allude to this, but as it relates to PPE sales, I know, here it seemed as though it was more of a free for all. Whoever it was a battle of availability more so than relationships or price. If you had it, you could sell it. And I do know, talking with a few folks that are in Canada, there was a lot of PPE that was done through the government, if I'm not mistaken. And so I don't know, how did that, if you shifted with PPE, or if you know of other distributors that did that, was there less opportunity for you to battle in that space, or is it the same? I don't know if you want to touch on that at all.
I think it is the same, but I think I think we're in very similar boats. But I think you touched on one difference, is that our government sources seem to secure their own channels, and that therefore we were sort of left alone to our own devices. If you know what I mean, there was not a ton of competition there. But I totally want to throw this open for us all to discuss. I did personally feel, as a small distributor, a lot of pressure at the start when business, like say by middle of March, business had just dropped off like a cliff. And I felt a lot of pressure to pivot. And what are you going to do? What's the right thing to do? And how are you going to chase some new business and keep some churn going, if you know what I mean? And PPE was definitely on the radar. And initially I thought, no, I'm not going to do it. At first I thought I'm not going to do it at all. It's like, I almost thought of it like fidget spinners. And I know that's making very light of it because they're much more important, the PPE role. But I just thought, I don't want to get in there because it's just a race to the bottom. Then I slowly started to warm up to it, but I thought I'll take my time. And I did. I waited and I bided my time because I think the same as you guys were seeing, there was like tons of channel interruption and delivery interruption and crazy pricing all over the place. And like Steven said, if you could get it, you could sell it, but could you get it? And I didn't want to go out to market to the few clients that I knew wanted it. So I was getting demand. That was the other side, but I was getting some pressure from clients, but I didn't want to go to them until I had it. So I waited, I bet you, a good 4 or 5 weeks until I was ready to say, okay, look, I'm going to post it on a web shop. I've got some supply. I bought the inventory and I'm ready to start selling it. And we did that because, again, we had a few healthcare security companies and Hollywood North clients that were demanding it. And it actually has worked out quite well for us. So it's a bit of a good news story.
It's a good strategy. Yeah.
So are you still only basically taking orders on that stuff, or are you now actively trying to push it because of the success that you've had?
Both. Yeah, we put it on a web shop. We didn't widely circulate the web shop URL, but we circulated to the corporate clients that we knew would be interested, or we figured would be interested. And it was great because they started just placing orders directly on that web shop themselves, filling out the info, giving them their credit card number. So it essentially became e-commerce at that point. It just wasn't widely distributed, and it wasn't a direct to consumer model because it wouldn't have been appropriate. But again, it was health. We have a few sort of healthcare alliances or one's called Nurse Next Door, and they do a franchise system that does in-home elder care. And then the Hollywood North clients have been great. And then a few security companies who were, sending 2,000 or 3,000 guards out into the field, and they had to have something. So
Yeah.
And how about the like the corporate social responsibility side of it? Because at first, like I know, when face masks first became like a legitimate thing, like everybody, like you said, it was just a rush. Like people had to get something. So, they were going with the disposables, blanks, not decorated, going with single ply, anything that they could find. And there's been quite the transition. When we first started selling face masks, for instance, we were we were right at the sort of, I guess, the end phase of the blank stuff, and so we sold hundreds of thousands of blank masks. But now, like, we can't give away a blank mask. I mean, there's just zero requests coming in for blank. Everything's decorated. So, are you seeing that up north as well?
Yeah, definitely. And we've actually we're very, very fortunate, I'd say, in the lower mainland. I've noticed this now, being in this industry for 15, 20 years, at the lower mainland, because we've got such a great connection with the Asian community, China, a ton of immigrant population coming here in the last 20 years and setting up embroidery factories, cut and sew factories, screen printing factories. Those are still here and they're doing fantastic work. So I've actually got a couple of factories right in town that are cutting and sewing masks here, and then we're decorating them here. So it's really working out well. The prices are okay. They're not amazing, but haven't had clients really balk at it. It is striking if you look at the price, say, versus one of these sublimated masks coming somewhere out of overseas. But then when you check the delivery dates and the problems with delivery right now, it's just much better. We can do a decorated mask here in 4 to 6 business days. So, it's amazing.
Yeah. I think, again, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I would like to, just make sure with everybody that's selling face masks right now, because it's really, the only business that's out there for the most part. You've really got to, have a good secured source for that stuff where, they're not having issues getting that stuff in. Cause there's people, that are only selling hard goods that are now all of a sudden trying to start selling soft goods, like a face mask. And it's just, it's a whole different ball game. So when you're trying to export, there's definitely been some of those situations come up where, they haven't been able to get it through. But, Meg, what about you? Are you sort of seeing the same thing now with what you're dealing with?
Yeah, we're bringing in a bunch of different. We have, I think, 24 different masks now. They all can be printed. Wow. Yeah, exactly. So we have 24 different kinds. I know Steven actually just reached out to me on Monday, and he was like, "These are the requirements. What do you have?" And I'm like, "Well, this is what I have." So we're sampling it out, make sure, and we're quoting it out for them. And Steven, they're all decorated, I would assume, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Are they blank?
Yeah, all decorated. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're seeing that because it's a trend now with all the preschools starting to open back up for summer camps. And then in the fall, we're seeing a lot of, especially in the schools, man, kids are just germ factories. Like they are, they are. We all have them. They're germ factories. So, they want to be covered. And instead there's like so strict rules when they do come back, like no sharing, like how's that going to fly?
Yeah. I can't wait to send mine back though.
Me either.
Steven, yours aren't germ factories, are they? They're little
angels.
angels.
They're sweet little girls. Girls don't have germs, do they?
Yeah. My daughter went back to school last week, and she was pulling a lot of faces before she went back. Like, she quite liked having her little setup at home and everything. And the day she went back, she was so happy.
Oh,
just loved it.
Well, I will say, related to the masks and the kids, kind of an aside here, but we had a birthday party at home yesterday for my daughter, and it was awesome. We had a bunch of presents and stuff, but it was a sweet gift. My mother-in-law actually made masks for the kids, and I thought that was super awesome. But then at the same time, I was thinking about it. I was like, it's a little sad. It is sad. There's a little bit of sadness there.
It is.
It's like, I don't want to have to think about that. And my wife just went through the school today to do all the pickups, and they say your name, you drive up, you open your trunk, they put all the kids' stuff in the car, and you drive off, and that's the last day of school. And there's some sadness to that. It's just, it's a different world right now.
Yeah, it really is. We haven't gotten there with it. We still have 9 to 10 more days of school left. So homeschooling. And that's the toughest part about this, I think, is trying to keep up with your work if you're working, trying to manage the children, try to homeschool them, and then keep up with your sanity and try to keep some type of schedule. And I think I did pretty good. And that was one thing we were talking about with our kids. Like Adeline hasn't left the house for the last 10, 12 weeks. So we did have 2 masks for her. And she didn't need them, but when we came down here, I made her wear them, and I'm like, it's super cute, but it's sad that this is how they have to grow up, like without these freedoms that we had. And to me, that's what's a little heartbreaking. And
it's not how they have to grow up. Look, like let's. I know it's a short period of time, but they're not going to grow up that way. Eventually,
but it's something you'll remember. It was something you'll remember.
Yeah. She did tell me I was her best friend, so
Oh,
I'll
that's
take
worth
that.
it. That's a score.
I know, I'll take it.
Now, Meg, you have a Canada tie with SNS. Is that correct?
That is correct. Actually,
Techno.
I'm probably, these dates are probably wrong, but I want to say in January or maybe November, we acquired a Canadian company, Techno Sport. I met them in Vegas. They're a bunch of great guys. We've been working together, and when COVID hit, they were just literally dead in the water. Like we don't know what to do because they haven't transitioned all the way with SNS, and it was a weird time for them because they were kind of just sitting there. They couldn't go out and see customers. They couldn't do anything, and they didn't really have anything. I sat with Daniel and a couple of the other guys, and we did some training on just our products that they would be selling. And I was talking to them today, and I think they're starting to open up. They were seeing that like about 70% of the small businesses were really going to be struggling. And they said that the small businesses were the ones that were affected the most. I don't know how that is. I think maybe we're seeing at both ends. If you didn't adapt and evolve into this PPE business, then nothing else was selling. I mean, I had one order of t-shirts that week that when masks hit. So if you weren't selling some sort of PPE, then you were going to be dead in the water. And I think they were feeling the pressure, and they wanted to make themselves look good too. Like, give us something to do. You guys just bought us and we kept them on the payroll too. So they wanted to really earn their keep kind of. And they're just great guys. They really are. They all have been working so hard trying to, make SNS proud and
that's what I was
Canada.
That's what I was talking about. It was it's quiet up here, and I wonder if now would be a good time we could chat about what we hear from distributors and what distributors are having success, sort of what style of distributorship is really us now. Because like I was saying at the start, this idea where we built our last 15 years around being here for creative agencies, marketing agencies, event agencies, and we're in like a trickle down position, right? Like if their clients are doing stuff, then we're doing stuff. Now that their clients aren't doing anything, we're not doing anything. And we've just never really had that kind of strong blue collar type of client group who are in construction, manufacturing, major capital projects, security companies. I wish now in hindsight, of course, I had more diversity like that, and we're trying to pivot, but, the friends competitors I have in the industry in Canada, Vancouver, Toronto, we're all kind of similar styles of distributorships. So I don't know if anybody else has heard from more of these other types that might serve those groups, more blue collar type clients. And if they're buying, that'd be great. I have a feeling
they are.
but
We're seeing that too. And aside from the blue collar, like it is logistics companies, they need masks. They need the same old stuff. And then we kind of took some case studies, and maybe, I don't know if you guys are doing this too, for the people that are buying, putting little packages together so they don't have to think about it, like a t-shirt, a mask, a bag, all under $7. So we give those little kits to them that they can be like, oh, you know what, when we do go back to work, or let me send my employees a thank you gift, or I'm thinking about you gift. And I know we were focusing a lot on work from home type kits to try to keep sales going, to try to boost sales in some areas. But I think everybody has to come to terms with, we're in this industry for a reason. This is our job. We were selected to be the brand ambassadors for our customers. And so it's really our jobs to make sure that their brands are doing well. So they might not be selling, but in the beginning, it wasn't the time. It was a little insensitive to be like, hey, let me show you the best new pair of socks I have, or whatever. But that's why in the beginning, I think it was really good to take that approach of, hey, I'm here, I'm thinking about you. And then as the times change, is, hey, you want to do some training, or you want to just check out some new products? And now we're actively saying, hey, this is who is buying. This is what you should be selling, X, Y, and Z. So we've kept up with the trends throughout this whole thing. And I think that's the way to survive through this. I mean, do you have any customers that are actually reaching out to you, or are you guys doing all the reaching out? Rich, sorry.
Honestly, a few clients coming back. This is what I've noticed coming back in, say, the last 3 weeks. So the Hollywood North is really coming back strong. And what we traditionally sell that client group is crew gifts, right? So they wrap up a production, and then they buy, like I said, with the Arnie thing, like 500 leather jackets or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we're ages away from that style of business because they're just starting up again.
Right.
But what they do need PPE. So that's been good.
Good.
We're seeing hospitality, food, bev, restaurants, craft brewers reopening.
Yeah.
We've always been okay in marijuana production. There's quite a few. It's licensed up here and it's legal. So they've been selling marijuana in the past 90 days. Like, of course, people are sitting home anyways, but
You ride by the dispensaries here and the line is like 3 or 4 hours long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've been selling to them still. So those are all those are definitely really, really strong. Yeah. I feel good about that kind of stuff for sure.
Maple syrup, is it still doing okay up there?
Yeah. We'll always be selling maple syrup.
Oh, thank God. That'd be crazy if
for
there was
Bill
a shortage.
for Bill Petrie, it's called Nanaimo bar.
Oh, crap.
Nanaimo.
We were supposed to, practice this.
Yeah, he can't say it.
Nanaimo.
No.
No.
Nai. Mo.
No.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, I did have one last question
Got
because I know we've got to wrap up here, but I did have one last question. What are the differences? We have PPP, the payment protection plan that's down here. That's a buzzword. What do you guys have up there? Is there there's a different overlap for businesses in Canada?
Yeah. Well, I think everybody sort of knows generally that Canada has a pretty intense tax structure system, right? And it has a lot of social programs. So we've been, all of us, business people and citizens, paying taxes like crazy for years and years. And we believe in supporting our fellow people, and that's what the taxes are there for. When I don't think any of us really realize that eventually we could all benefit from this, and that's what's happened, is that the federal government has put in a bunch of programs to support small businesses, and I know I have taken advantage of them, and I think people are. And it's legitimate. It's not like we're gaming the system. These things are, like we paid into these
offered.
taxes.
Yeah,
they're offered.
Your money.
Yeah. So they do have a number of different things. They have things for people who had to be laid off. So I had to lay off someone, and there's a whole program for people who had to be laid off. There's rent support programs. We own our commercial space, so that doesn't apply to us, but there's tons of people obviously who rent commercial space, and there's certain supports in place for them. And we do have a wage subsidy program, which is really great. And I have taken advantage of that too, and applied on behalf of myself as an employee and the other employees. So we've got a lot of programs here. There's one other thing I just want to share briefly with you guys that I waited weeks and thought about, do I want to pivot to this? But I did do a direct consumer website, and I just threw up the virtual background,
cool.
a couple t-shirts we designed, and it's been really, really, really well received. So again, I thought, well, I have sold direct to consumer before. It's a lot of work to package up one t-shirt and ship it. But I thought, you know what? I'm sitting here all day long. I'm not doing much. Wanted to play on Shopify. Had never really had a chance to play on Shopify. So we launched this store, and we chose our provincial health officer. Her name's Bonnie Henry, because she'd be like your top state health official. And she's done a really great job here. We've had very low 167 deaths total in the province of 4 million people over the entire period, and very low cases. So anyways, I thought, and she seemed to have a really great fan following. So we designed this shirt, put it up, and we sold almost $6,000 worth of t-shirts.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
And that is the one thing I was going to say. The e-commerce side of things has done very, very well. I mean, I find myself shopping all the time, and I'm like, I'm also supporting my customers. So I really have found that's a good way to go. It really was smart.
Yeah.
That's a great.
And I do recommend it anytime I'm talking to any of my colleagues in the business, I say, if you can find a niche and put some, because of course, every time we ship one of these t-shirts, I'm stuffed full of info on my business, because I'm hoping that somebody opens the t-shirt and goes, oh shoot, our company could really use something like this or whatever. Right.
Smart. Yep.
Yeah.
So I know we're not going to be stuck at home forever, but while we are, we still need like a really good like drinkware line, right? Like, do you guys know any idea where we might be able to?
Does anything keep
like
stuff really cold like Canada?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they might even have like sippy wine glasses. I heard
it can be hot,
and wine.
It can be hot like Mexico. Maybe your coffee, Café de Olla, or maybe you can get something ice cold like a nice Canadian Molson, right?
Molson Golden.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So, listen, I think Tervis might be the way to go, right? So Tervis added a stainless line to their well-established line about 2 years ago, basically with the goal of being better than the competition by utilizing state-of-the-art custom 360-degree UV printing. They're available in 4 sizes: 12 ounce, 20 ounce, 30 ounce, and even a 24 ounce water bottle. You get a 5-year warranty on those bad boys, 18/8 copper lined, vacuum insulated, 8 hours of hot, like Mexico, 24 hours of cold, like Canada.
Like Canada.
That was good. That was
there
good.
You go. Tervispromos.com. Check them out for more information. Any closing remarks from any of you fine folks today?
I have one last thing. Rich, have you seen Goonies?
Of course, I've seen Goonies.
Of course. There you go.
Hey, Meg, have you seen Anchorman?
Shut up. I have parts of it.
Meg, I'm
That's-
such a Goonies fan. I even drove my Volkswagen van down to Astoria, Oregon, and visited all the filming sites and totally nerded out. And it was
That's cool.
awesome.
That is cool. That is
Except-
so cool.
Except when the van broke
So
down. But
Bill
Oh,
Petrie
that's not
chimes
cool.
in and he says that it's pronounced Nanimo.
right.
Sure.
True life
So-
story. My family and I went to Hawaii in the mid 80s, and we went into a small bakery, and there was Nanaimo bars sitting on the shelf. And I thought, that's so weird. And I said to the guy, can I have one of those? And he said, oh, you mean the Nanaimo bars? And I said, yeah, Nanaimo bars. So they're even in Hawaii.
Yeah, very
awesome.
nice. Very cool. All right. Well, with that being said, I think we're going to close this puppy down. But Rich, we really thank you for being here and giving us a little bit of perspective on Canada and sort of how things have affected, our northern brethren. And obviously, we're all in this together, and I think we're fighting the same fight. And hopefully we can get over this thing sooner rather than later. As we're starting to reopen, hopefully we won't see too much of a rebound in cases, and we can put this behind us and get back to normal promotional product business. Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, can't wait, eh?
Hey.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Take care.
See
Take
ya.
off hosers.
See ya.
Take off hosers. Take care. Bye.